Excuse me.
Go. Mr. John? Go. All right. We want to welcome you to our broadcast here at Focus on Liberia. As you can see, this is Focus on Liberia on our program, The Hour of Politics. I'm Anthony here hosting, and we are here to discuss the topic, the Weah projects. Are they insensitive or justified? That is the topic that we have come to discuss here live with you, our audience. To discuss the topic, we have Robert Gagwa Jr. Robert, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for sending the invitation once more. It's always a privilege to be on your show to discuss issues concerning Liberia and some other things that we have going on. So again, thank you for the invitation. I look forward to a substantive debate. As we go through the show, there's something very important that's on my mind right now, which is a project called the Mask for Liberia project. And hopefully I'm given the opportunity to expand on that. Again, thank you for the invitation.
Robert, as always, thank you for honoring our invitation. Mr. Benjamin Kofar is running for president. Welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you, Mr. Anthony. It's always great to be here. I like your show. I appreciate the call back every time to discuss issues regarding Liberia. I just think it's very, very good that we as Liberians sit down regularly in a civil atmosphere and discuss issues related to Liberia. I look forward to a very vibrant dialogue. I look forward also to learn as we dialogue with each other. It is always a great opportunity to be here. Thanks to your audience. And I'm just happy to be here tonight. Thank you.
We are happy to have you. And we are so happy again to have you, Ben. Gentlemen, our topic, before we go into it, Robert got something that he wants to share with us. For those of you watching our show here, Mr. Robert Gagwa is a young Liberian humanitarian. In his own weak way, he always tried to find that way to get a little help as much as possible to the less fortunate ones in our home country. I follow Robert. He more like visits Liberia every year, sometimes twice, to carry on his work that he's doing there. But there is another project that he really wants to do, especially in this time of need. Our people are in a lockdown. And so Robert has something to share with us so that we can see how we can also join him in providing that much needed help to our people. Robert, quickly, what do you have to share with our audience to see if they can be of help?
Thank you. So as we all know that, COVID-19 is a very, very serious epidemic. The entire world has been impacted by the deadly and invisible virus. Countries in the West have been hit the most. Just in the U.S. alone, we have over 1 million cases. Almost 70,000 folks have 170,000 folks have died in America alone from this virus, and it has started impacting our country, like Liberia, and so there are many needs. I see a lot of Liberians who have started doing different things such as food distributions. I know my organization was able to reach out to about 50 families in Liberia, an orphanage, and people with disabilities. But the needs are enormous, and there are many ways many steps that we can take to curtail this virus, or at least the spread of the virus. And one of those things in the second phase, as we move forward, will be mask. Now, there are lots of talks about mask, wearing mask, and I know that the health experts have said that though the mask does not protect the person who's wearing it, it protects the next person. So it's very important. It's very critical that we ensure that if Arsenic can afford to buy a mask, he ensures that his neighbor can do that as well, or people who he might interact with in the supermarket or at the gas station or so forth and so on. And because not only is he going to wear the mask to protect others, he has to make sure that others are also protecting him as well. And so a group of Liberians, we came up together. Uh, Shout out to Sopo, a Liberian in our community in the diaspora, reach out to a few folks, and we came up with this idea to do a mask for Liberia project, and the goal is to raise $20,000 to purchase 20,000 masks at $1 per mask for Liberians across the country, for underprivileged Liberians across the country. And as we might know, there are lots of Liberians in Liberia. 80% of our population are considered underprivileged. And so we came up with the idea yesterday, and we currently have a GoFundMe page out. And things like that. And this is non-political. I just want to be clear, because we're about to discuss politics. I know there are people who have different political affiliation, different political views, but I think this is an opportunity for us to put aside our political differences, for us to put aside religion, for us to put aside our ethnic connections, and really do something for Liberia, for our people, in our efforts to combat this virus. So this is not political. This is not politics. This is not religion. This is just about few patriotic Liberians coming together, reaching out to a few other folks to give back to our country. And so if you are interested in supporting this cause, I want you to go to, I'm going to share the link. You can go to my page, Robert Glade Gagward on Facebook, and the link is on my page. And if you want, we are taking donation to GoFundMe and Cash App as well. And if you are interested in making a Cash App donation, the number is 919-904-1807. And that Cash App name is the $ I-V as in Victor, Y as in yell, and the number 1. Again, it's the $ I as in international, V as in Victor, Y as in yell, and the number 1, and you can make your contributions. Any details concerning this project, we want to be as transparent as possible. I want to ensure you that every penny of this money will be spent accordingly for the purpose given, and we're going to account for it. So if you are worried about mismanagement, misappropriation of funds, I want you to know that I would not be part of this. My name would not be associated if I didn't trust the integrity of those in tight. So again, thank you, Asani, for the opportunity to speak on this, and I look forward to more folks coming on board. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert Gagwad. Folks who are watching us, that is a humanitarian request from all of us here who are Liberians. We want to encourage you to contribute to this worthy cause. If we say we love Liberians, fellow Liberians, the way we love Liberia is not only by saying it with our mouth, but backing whatever we say with a little action, because people don't tend to see all the talking, but everybody tends to see all the action. And so let us just match it with a little action. And I think a little contribution will do a lot more for those who need it most in our country. And so we encourage you to contribute to this project, because it's a water project and it will help to make somebody's life better. Let's come to Mr. Benjamin Kofa Faniel. Kofa is running for president. We are now leaving our topic. The topic for which we brought these two gentlemen, we will jump into it. But we just want to do justice to Kofa. Kofa, you are running for president. Should I trust you? Should I believe you that you really mean this thing? 2 years away from the presidential run, no one knows that Kofa is running for president except for Kofa's friends on Facebook. Are you serious?
I would say this, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. Let me guarantee you and everyone who's listening to the sound of my voice, come 2023, Benjamin Kofa Fania, I will be elected as President of the Republic of Liberia. This is a serious effort, and the goal is the total transformation of Liberia. You know, for far too long, since almost 200 years, Liberia has just wallowed. We've had a lack of sincerity in terms of our leaders.
Mhm.
And if you look at all my ads, the key phrase I have is the turning point. At some point in our lives, Liberia have to turn the corner. We have to change in terms of the way we do things. If you look around the world, there are many smart Liberians, knowledgeable people. You look at those people, you look at what they do, you look at their exploits. Then you put that next to Liberia, then you ask yourself, what's happening? So this is a drive for total transformation of the Republic. And I will promise you, my dear brother, 2023, I will be the president of Liberia. Thank you.
All right. At some time in the very, very near future, we will try to invite you here so that we can have an exclusive with you on your presidential ambition. All we can say here is good luck.
Thank you, sir.
All right. The stage is set for us to start our conversation. And folks, let us remind you, our topic is the Weah's projects and mansions. Justify or share insensitivity on the part of the president. Is the president so out of touch or insensitive to the plights of the people that he is serving as president, for which he's just piling these projects one after the other? The Weah's projects and the Weah's mansions versus government-owned projects and initiatives. His projects are visible around the country, but the ones that are intended for the people to ease their economic situation, the people are yet to feel those impact, the impact of those projects. And so that is why we are discussing. To start, let's start with the Weah's project. To you, my panelists, I'm confused what the Weah's project is. I'm sure you guys will figure it out for us. What is the Weah's project? The only sense I got is when Weah came out with this Weah's project, we heard a coronavirus song, and we saw coronavirus bucket, and we saw another symbol about the coronavirus as the Weah's project. And again, the fight against coronavirus in no time became Weah's project. The song about corona, the bucket about corona, the symbols about corona, and it is reasonable for someone to add maybe the organic tonic water that came from Madagascar is part of the Weah's project, because we saw we are on red carpet to receive that little tiny bags accompanied by ministers. What is the Weah's project? Let's start with you, Ben. You've been a little close with Weah sometime in the past. Maybe you can read a mind better than we do. What is the Weah's project?
Well, thank you for that. But I would like to say I share your views on that. I'm a little bit confused. Let me tell you why. What is transpiring in Liberia right now, what we are all witnessing, it's just a total exhibition of what I would call the non-existence of rules. Let me tell you why I say that. If anyone would engage in such an activity here, you will have obligations. You have to be you have to have that organization named and registered. You will have tax obligations. You will also have to let it be known in terms of your sources of funding. But as we see what we see in Liberia now, there are gray areas. I mean, the lines are blurred. Like you said, we don't even know where the sources of funding are. And we don't know. All we see are things that we can put our hands on. So the way I look at it, it's just an exhibition of the existing or the non-existence of rules. Because even if you're the head of state or you're the ordinary guy on the street, we are all equal in the eyes of the law, and we all should be held accountable. So, I mean, based on the fact that this thing is not organized, it is not an entity. We don't even know the name. We don't know the offices. We don't even know the sources of funding. It is blurred. Like I said, and I will continue to say, it is a testimony to the lack of rules and regulations in Liberia.
And Ben, if I may ask, it says more about the lack of rules, and somebody may say laws, or it says more so about people just don't know what they need to do and that they need to be ethical at least.
No, I would say this: if the head of state, if the leader even comes out with an appearance of not adhering to laws, it sends a very bad message. So, like I said, anybody knows this. Everybody, everywhere. Even, I mean, our guests on this show, if you have an NGO, you have to be registered. You have to be incorporated. You have tax obligations. You know, and you have the responsibility to also let it be known in terms of your sources of funding. None of these things occurred. We saw items that were, you know, that were engraved, emblazoned with names and images. We don't know how they were acquired. We don't know the sources of fund. So, I mean, just like I said, and I will continue to say, it's just a total show of the lack of respect for rules or the non-existence of rules in Liberia.
But Ben, it's actually ethical, if you will, for somebody to just become president and just decided in no time to build projects that they could not build at the time they were just a private citizen. Is it just ethical for a president to just continue to build and build and build? Is it ethical?
I want to say this. With that, I would say it's a two-way street. There's something called optics. That is what we see. Anybody can come out and say, well, I'm using my own funds to do X, Y, Z. Anybody can say that. But you have to choose your timing. That is number one. Number two, we have to look at you in what we call a historical context. So in the absence, but I will have to be fair here, in the absence of verifiable proofs that these constructions are being done with funds that are illegal, I would say during my administration, most, if not all of these construction will be audited. Because you see, it is wrong for someone someone like me who knows the law to just assume or accuse anyone without facts. The optics are bad, but until we can investigate and reach a stage where we say, no, this happened based on something that was illegal, I will reserve my view until it is investigated and there's clear-cut evidence that there were wrongs in the construction of these.
All right, thank you. Let me come to you, Robert. I like the way Ben lay out the laws, the ethical connotation of it. Let's come to the practical aspect with you here. What we know is, at some time, President Weah broke down his 9th Street house. and he decided to refurbish it. And it was confirmed that he was doing that. That was his house on 9th Street. And at some point, Smith Toby, sometime last year, was granted an interview on Sekou Kane's show. And he said that actually it was now President Weah who was carrying on the project. And President Weah has given that project to his son, Timothy Weah. And so it was Timothy Weah, through his mother, now the First Lady, who was constructing that project. When new pictures of the house going through finishing touches surfaced recently on Facebook, Smith Toby on Monday went on Facebook again, went on OKFM to say that, look, I told you before, and I'm saying it again, that this is Timothy's project. 24 hours later, he came back to say, no, I didn't have the right information. The right information is this property is for the president. Now, what is being established is that this is the president's project. Is it ethical?
Well, I'm not. Look, I think that we can look at it from our different perspective, as far as it being ethical or not. But I want to start with the with Toby Smith, with Smith Toby. And you just said something that I would describe as, in Ellen's voice, as a blatant lie.
Okay.
The fact is, Smith Toby told a lie. And I look, the people can debate on the structure of the lie, but what I think all of us would concur with is that a lie was told. And in his explanation, in retracting his statement, he says something very profound, something that I found to be very, 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 very absurd, and to some extent, in his lies, something that insult our intelligence. He basically said that the information that he spoke officially as the deputy press secretary to the president was one that he heard, and I quote, from a close source of the president. And it baffles me that in Liberia, just by being a Liberian, we have a very small country. We're very proud people. Most of our people may not have the opportunity, but I don't think we are stupid people. I think we are very, very smart people. To come on national radio and in retracting a lie, to say that, well, the information told, speaking officially in your capacity as deputy press secretary to the president, was one based on hearsay. It's insane. You mean to tell me that a deputy press secretary won't be any closer to the president of a country? One that speaks directly on behalf of the president? One that when they speak, the public presume that the president is speaking? Are you mean to tell me that you're going to come and officially make a statement on such a mansion based on hearsay, and one that was unvetted? I think it's absurd. So it's very, very clear. It is explicitly clear that Smith Toby told a lie yesterday. Now let's go to look. The fact is, the mansion, on 9th Street, as far as the facts are concerned, because I like to speak based on facts. I don't want to speak with that kind of sentiment. Sometimes we're very sensitive. Political differences, people want to force you to say things that may not have any factual backing. I try to speak on the facts. We all know that the 9th Street mansion belongs to George Weah and legally belongs to George Weah. That house has been there for as long as we have known him, right? We all know that right after he became president in 2018, they proceeded to break down that house
Right.
And the goal was to reconstruct a new building. Now we didn't know, we don't have access to the plan of what that new house would look like,
Right.
but we knew that there was work ongoing at that mansion. When in Liberia, public officials, be it the president, be it lawmakers, refuse to declare their access, as the president has. When people in public services refuses to declare the access, the public,
Robert,
yes.
that's a good point you raised. Let's keep the asset declaration portion separate.
Well, I'm going to a point. I'm trying to make a point to land.
No, I'm going to ask you a question to just, I want to put you, because that's a point you made earlier. I think the asset declaration aspect, Ben has interest in it. The point you make that Smith Tobey told a lie. I agree with you that he told a lie. But what I want us to discuss, was he made to tell this lie? That's question number one. And if we can assume that he was made to tell this lie, Smith being a smart man, can you also tell me he was aware that his reputation was on the line when he was telling this lie, and he didn't care about his reputation anyway, because maybe he felt that he was doing a piece of job? Give me something, Robert.
Well, look, I don't want to dive into, look, you're making a brilliant point. I don't want to dive into whether or not he was made to tell a lie. I mean, I think smart people, based on my position and based on the facts,
right,
as the deputy press secretary, he speaks on behalf of the president. So one would assume that he won't say anything that does not come directly from his boss.
Right.
And so I will let people make their own personal judgment based on the facts, right?
Okay.
But here's what I would say. I would say that in Liberia, it's hard to find public officials that one have an integrity, and one that has one and is willing to protect his or her integrity. I would never. Robert Glade Gagwa, would never. I would never, regardless of who my boss is, regardless of my job description, I would never go out there and put my integrity on the line to protect anyone. Smith Tobey is a learned journalist, and he came into this position. Mind you, he was a big critic of the president, and so this is an opportunity to be a representation of something that you previously saw to the public. And so I cannot determine whether or not he was aware that what he was told to tell was a lie. That's his job. That's his job. That even if a president tells me, hey, I want you to go ahead and tell a lie, there should be a strategy on how you go about doing that. But I'm specifically holding accountable Smith Tobey for the lie he told, and the fact that he tried to insult our intelligence in even retracting the lie. Because I know for a fact that a deputy press secretary to the president should be as close to this president as anyone should. And if you come out to make official statements on whatever the case is, you should be sure that that statement is factual. And if it's not, if it's based on yes, it should go to the necessary vetting to ensure that it has some truth to it.
Thank you. Let me come to Ben. I know Ben can't wait. And Ben, same question. Did he tell a lie? If so, was he made to tell this lie? And did he tell this lie knowing that he was crucifying or burying his own integrity, and he had to do it anyway because he felt that it was a piece of job?
All right, Anthony, I want to say this. I'm a leader, the first thing, and I believe in the law. I can only say Anthony told a lie if I know the truth.
Okay.
You know, I can only say what Anthony is saying is a lie if I know the truth.
Okay.
I want to say this. We all live in the West.
Yes.
Here, you can be caught with a knife in your hand, and everybody know you stabbed the other guy. You know, you killed the other guy.
Yeah.
when you are charged in court, they will say alleged.
Mhm.
They say that based on the fact that there's a process you have to go through where you will be convicted beyond what they call reasonable doubt. Now, I want to say this. A lot of things happen here. You know, Smith came and made a statement. You know, just like news media, just like radio, just like TV, he's an individual. He came back the next day and said, well, I retracted that statement because it was wrong. This is what I would do. You see, from the onset of this show, the thing I want to emphasize here is the lack of institutions in Liberia, the total lack. Because my other guest just said something that was key. In Liberia, government officials, including George Weah, declared his assets, but the details of the declaration is kept secret. So how do we know which assets this guy had? How do we know? And guess what? That was a rule that was made by Ellen Johnson's government. Officials are allowed to declare their assets, but they are not mandated to make that declaration public. So until we can go in there and say no, because what I'm going to do, I will declare my assets even on the day of my announcement in Liberia, because you should have nothing to hide. There should be a high sense of transparency in public officials. You don't serve people with the intent of amassing wealth. You don't do that.
Ben,
So what happened here, you see? No, just hold on a little bit, sir.
Go ahead.
There's a lot of things here at play. You know, we all know this is Africa and this is Liberia. We don't know what compelled this individual to retract that statement. What we should rather push for is how can we delve into the sources of fund of this project? How can we get to know who's actually funding this thing? Because right now, as it stands, we got someone said John Brown is the one who owns this thing. The next day, that same individual came and said Paul Sam is the one who's owning it. Until we can have verifiable proof in terms of what the sources of funding for this construction is from, it will be hard for us until we can have established institutions that hold people accountable. I mean, in terms of the way they conduct themselves. I'll tell you, my brother, we will go nowhere because this will continue to occur. And it's not only with George Weah. Let me say this. It's not only with George Weah. This is widespread. This is all over the place.
Ben.
So I don't want us, no, hold on a little bit, sir. I don't want us to look at him. I want us to look at what can we do in terms of erecting institutions that will hold people accountable. Thank you, sir.
Ben, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to ask a question to give you, more time to elaborate on what you were saying. But let me say this: the issue of asset declaration, is law now. It's by law in Liberia. Now, whether or not you have the choice not to make it public,
yes,
that is another debate. But why, like you said, what is somebody hiding when they know that they have clean hands? Why are you hiding? For which you would not want to make your asset public when you are the very person who did that 3 times in the past. President Weah declared his asset in 2005. President Weah declared his asset in 2011. All right. And I don't remember whether when he ran as senator, if he did, but I know for sure he did that 2 times in the past. But this time around, and I'm not just saying declaring, making it public as well. But President Weah refused to do so now. And his argument is that, oh, because the law says I don't have to. So then where is the transparency that he has been preaching? The failure to declare asset now has raised this suspicion about funding, because already the opposition community is saying that President Weah was broke. Maybe Ben need to share something with us. He been close to President Weah some way or the other. Was this man actually broke? And we can agree that he had the 80 million, all right, So if he's using the 80 million, why would you not want to declare your asset? Lord, I have 80 million, man, so I can construct my project. And another explanation is that, okay, even if the president is not using some of the 80 million, his son is playing football, his son got money. But now the son being another source of funding now is outside of the picture. Because it's been clear now that the project is not for Timothy, it's Weah. So that money coming from Weah, but where is it coming from? Let's bring Robert in. Robert, so my question is,
Well,
declaring asset or not, where is the money coming from, you think?
well, at first, I don't think that it makes sense to have a law that mandates access declaration, but one that keeps it secret, ones that hides it from the public. So when you have, I think the gentleman spoke about the lack of institutions. We have institutions that are not fully functioning. And we have institutions that are not well respected, that are not trusted because of corruption and things that happen constantly in our country. And so, if you are made to declare your exits, but there's an institution that is responsible to go through those exits, who do we ask questions? Who make clarifications when in times like these, when clarifications are needed? So I think that it's almost like a club, like a boys club, like a corrupt club where I can declare my access, you can declare your access, and we have another board that keeps account of those of our access, and all of us go out there and spend stuff that is not included in our access, and guess what? Only us know what's going on. The public doesn't. So I think that law should go to the extent where politicians are not only mandated to declare their access, it should be law to make that access public. It should be public record. It is in these United States when it comes to taxes. I know there are some limitations to it, but for the most part, we know what in our politicians' taxes. But to the Timothy, we are part of it. Look, Timothy Weah is not a politician. And if I was the president or anyone close to the president, I would be going ballistic if anyone suggested to drag Timothy Weah into this kind of politics. I mean, there are ramifications for what's going on over here. There are legal ramifications for what's going on over here. And so it's best to keep Timothy Weah out of it, because now if you drag him into it, there are questions that he would now have to answer as far as some.
And the question is, Robert, as you continue your point, who's bringing Timothy in this conversation?
Well, you should ask. I think the best person to answer that question would be Smith Tooley and those in that camp. They mentioned his name. It was that decision to mention his name. I'm not sure if it was a strategy or not. I can't speak on that because I'm not part of that entity.
But who was the first to mention Timothy's name in connection with this project?
It's been mentioned before on social media by some seditionists. Mm-hmm. But I can't take the word for people who are not in the camp of the president to know certain things as facts. Other than their opinions. But when it comes from the deputy speaker, the deputy press secretary, one would think that it has some truth to it, right? But given the contradictions and the retracting of statements and things like that, the question now is, if a man is willing to lie like that, what do we believe that coming out of him? And so I think what needs to happen at this point, because we all would agree that it doesn't look good. Ben spoke about optics. Not only optics, when you have a president who was once a multi-millionaire, okay, who made all of this money. I cannot put an amount on how much George Weah made when he was playing soccer because I do not have the facts to that. I think people can throw out numbers. I'll let them do that. But the fact is, he was a multi-millionaire. How he invested his money is none of my business. But when you have a guy who was a multi-millionaire and did not build the extent of the mansions that he's building right now that he's president. uh, a president who starts to break down old homes to reconstruct them with no clear accountability. When you have $25 million that was supposed to be a map access that fully has not yet been accounted for, and these things are going on, it raises questions about corruption. And it is not a good look when we are in a pandemic, when people are struggling, when people are hungry, when people cannot afford certain things, the masses that voted for you, it is not a good look to be having projects, huge projects, such as what's going on currently, ongoing. And so I think what needs to happen right now, there has to be some clarification made as to the source of funding. If it is the president's money, then I think what will serve his administration right when it comes to that cloud of question is to come forward and make clarification on where's the money coming from, and so you'll put this thing to death. But I think until that clarification is made, people will continue, and rightfully so, continue to question or raise questions about corruption.
And Roberts, beside this nice street mansion, now we know is for the president. We knew it was for him all along. They tried to make excuses or justify or try to give it to Timothy because they understood at some point that the optics was bad. And that is profound. Why, for any reason, they attempted to impress on us that it was not the president who was building the house in the first place? Why they have to even make that attempt? What does that say? I mean, what were they trying to accomplish? Is it because they understood the optics was bad for the president, and they felt at some point the only way to have gotten out of it was to just say, oh, it was Timothy? Is that what they were trying to accomplish, in your opinion?
Well, in my opinion, I think they were trying to respond to questions that have been raised since the publication of the current the ongoing work at the site. Because again, it doesn't look good. I made a statement on my social media, and then I said that even if the president comes forth and says, here is the source of the funding, and everything shows that it's coming from his pay, or it's coming from money that he earned, honestly, it still doesn't make it right. It still doesn't make it right to be building mansions like that when people are dying, when people are starving, when people are hungry, and when people, most of whom voted for you, when there are all of these issues. You have an economy that's going down a spiral. You have unemployment rate that continues to stagger, that is staggering. You have all of these issues. You have a depleted health system. You have education. You have all of these issues to deal with. Even if you can clarify, improve source of funding, the optics still look bad. And then it goes to the question of sensitivity. Are we being insensitive to the plight of Liberians? You cannot do that, because if you do that, the question is, do you really have the country at heart? One. Two, do you really understand the struggle of those who believed in you, those who relates to you? Do you really understand that struggle? Because 80% of them are not building those humongous homes. They can't afford it. And so I don't know why they brought Tim Weah into it. But only them can answer for fact that question as to the strategy behind bringing Timothy Weah into all of this. I can't, but in my opinion, I think it was a bad idea.
All right, folks in cyberspace, you are watching Focus on Liberia. It's the Hour of Politics special. My name is Anthony Sier, and we are discussing the Weah's projects and mansions, justified or insensitive. Robert, I come to you again. Let's look at other projects that President Weah is being linked to as well. the 47-unit condominium. We know it's been told that those buildings belong to the president. We saw the president with one West African leader, somebody from the ECOWAS, touring the facility, the president toured that facility. We know people in the CDC who confirm that those properties are actually for the president. And then we also heard about Jamaica Resort that belongs to the president's wife. That other project got completed after the president got elected. And so people are wondering why this president decided to embark on all of these projects when the people that elected him, he's yet to complete a single project for them.
Well, that's why it's important to understand. I don't understand the difference between the Weah project as opposed to government project. And I want to make a point that we have gotten so used to a political system that elects politicians on humanitarian basis. And that's dangerous. 90% of our public officials, 90% of our lawmakers, 90% of politicians relies on humanitarian work to get elected. When people go to debates and when people start to ask questions, what are your records? What have you done? People go to, well, I donated $2,000 a year. I helped with the roofing of our people whose homes were destroyed by tornadoes. I did this. I did this. There's absolutely nothing that reflects their core responsibilities as lawmakers. There's no record, such as I drafted a bill on educational reform, such as healthcare. I mean, things that have lasting and have lasting impact and national impact. They're absolutely no record. And so when I look at the Weah project, which I don't understand exactly what that means, because recently I saw buckets with the face of George Weah, and there were people within government apparatus who were heading those initiatives. Then I saw pictures of the vice president on her own bucket and a few other things. Then I saw pictures of the bucket of the foreign minister. Then I saw pictures of top ministers with cabinet members within government. So if everyone has their own project, then the question is, what is the government's project? What is the government's project? And so I think Weah himself or someone within that camp has to come up and explain and educate the public on what the Weah project is, because some people looking from outside in might describe the Weah project as the building of mansions, the reconstruction of the Jamaica resorts, and things that are personal to the president and not government. And if those projects are personal to the president, should they be considered government successes? Should there be things that the general public use to evaluate the success of this president in 6 years when he is up for re-election? And so those things have to be clarified, and we have to educate our people so that we get away from this mindset of humanitarian basis and how people are elected. Because if we continue down this path, it's going to hurt us in the long run.
Thank you. And Ben, please, I really want to get this clear. And let me be as specific as possible so that you can make it easier for us to understand. Let's focus on the nation's fight against the deadly epidemic. Have you been able to distinguish a national response headed by the president from the president's project geared toward fighting this very pandemic? Have you been able to distinguish the two?
Well, the first thing I would like to say is I have written about it numerous times. Liberia has no strategy in terms of combating this virus. We have no strategy. You see, there's something they say in management. When you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Now, I want to say this. This thing did not come to Liberia as a shock. You know, we saw it in Wuhan before it came to Europe. It came to, and came out here to the States. So it wasn't a shock in Liberia. So we had the advantage of the time in terms of putting together a strategy. We do not have a strategy. As I speak right now, we are just reacting. I want to say this before I go on. Every country that I have been to in the world has some kind of a national disaster management outfit. That is an organization that is dedicated towards emergency. It could be a landslide, it could be an epidemic, it could be a pandemic. You have people who are suitably trained. They have a blueprint in terms of managing this kind of outbreaks. I don't know if such an outfit exists in Liberia. I don't know, because I've been asking for that and nobody have answers. So in the absence of a national disaster management organization, and also in the absence of a national strategy, we had nothing. That's why we are left with this so-called Weah project. And like I said in the beginning, my good brother, the Weah project is not defined. I don't know if it is an entity, or I don't know what it is. I don't know what the sources of funding are. So to come to the end of my point, there is no strategy. We are just going along and trying to make it up. But let me just say something in regards to what Mr. Gadwa said. You know, they just talk about politicians and what they do. But in Liberia, nobody makes mention of the voters, the constituents. One of the things I want to do, that's why I'm moving to Liberia next year, I will go to every county in Liberia. My focus would not be to tell them vote for me. My focus will be educating the voters. And let me tell you this, maybe some people don't know this in Liberia. The National Election Commission, National Election Commission, it is part of their format, it's part of their framework, what is called civil voters education. The voters must be educated in terms of holding politicians accountable. I will tell you this, everybody on this show knows that people are elected in Liberia without agendas, platforms that have time constraints on them. So when we vote for somebody, what are an agenda that has an associated time frame? What are the expectations? What are the expectations if we vote for a guy? He didn't tell us nothing. There's no time spent attached to it. How do we hold him accountable? That's why you have politicians behaving the way they are behaving. Normally, politicians should be afraid of the voters because the voters are the ones who can hold them accountable. But in Liberia, it's the other way around. Until the voters get educated in terms of what their responsibilities and their roles are, they will hold all those. Anybody come to you say, well, I want to run, I want to be this, I want to be this, you will start asking the relevant questions. So that when this guy ultimately gets elected, we can hold him accountable in terms of what he said he would do. Thank you, my brother, thank you.
All right. Again, folks in cyberspace, you're watching Focus on Liberia. This is our program, The Hour of Politics, with me, Anthony C., your host, and we are discussing the Weah's project, the Weah's missions, and we want to know whether those projects are justified or the president is just being insensitive. In studio, I have Ben Finn, is Benjamin Kofa Fanel, who is running in 2023 to be president. And I have Rabo Gagwa, he's a humanitarian. You know, he just want to make sure that the less fortunate ones get a little help. He's not running for anything. So Ben should not consider him for any appointment in the near future.
I think Robert is a good man. I think he's a good man.
So gentlemen, let's come to this aspect of this entire conversation. I don't know why somebody playing with this thing again. I don't want somebody to play with this thing. Let's stay like this. All right. Let's come to this aspect of it. The point you guys raised that elected officials, and maybe that's where this thing is coming from the mindset of the voters. I saw Old Man Tipote, people term him as somebody who's stingy. He's mean because he studied economics. And if they vote for him, hunger might kill them because the man does not like to spend. And so despite that man's political resume and qualification, he never came second in any election. The Liberian man thinking. But what we saw, Charles Taylor came, a flamboyant guy, and they said, oh, Charles Taylor, the man is not a mean man, the man can give. And they elected him, and they paid the price. And Weah came, oh, millionaire, he was all around the world. He went to Ghana, he was helping people during the war. He had a Lone Star on his shoulder. And so, to your point, the both of you made that point that we see our elected officials as humanitarians instead of policy makers, people who should be crafting policies that are sustainable to benefit the future ones, to benefit the country and its future. Our people are not looking at that. They're just looking at right now. Yes?
I beg you, let me just say one thing, please, and this is very important.
Yeah.
Dillon, a few days ago, and I will say this, I will call his name.
Yeah.
Dillon came out to say, well, every month when I take pay, I would take 5,000 and gave it to my constituents. You know, I saw Liberians cheering him on, but that was very unwise. Just like what you were saying right now. Dillon should rather craft policies that will benefit his constituents. Because what happens is he gets hit by a car, God forbid, that 5,000 dries up. But if Dillon crafts policies that would benefit his constituents, whether he's there or not, the policies will be there to protect his people. That's why it is bad when people engage in too much humanitarian acts in the name of politics. You know, I was shocked to hear someone saying that I would give 5,000 from my pay back to my constituents. It is good. I mean, just good hot air. It's not policy. You were elected to impact, to improve the lives of your constituents. You were not elected to give them handouts. I'll give you 5,000. What if something happens to me and I die? The 5,000 dries up. It dries up. That's what I wanted to say.
And the question is good you brought it up, and it's the same point I'm making. Why can 5,000, due to Monserrato County that he represents as senator, with a population of 1.1 million, why can 5,000 on a monthly basis do to them, even if they don't decide to give that 5,000 to just one school? How much good can it do to a school that may be having pretty close to maybe 15,000 students? How much good can it do? But it is that pronouncement that gave him the job. What does that say?
It's just rhetoric.
Rabo, what does that say about the psyche of our people? Should we be worried that our people continue to elect leaders on the basis of what the promise they will give them?
Well, the system and the people that make that system works. We have to start looking at both. Because again, we can do some things to change the system. But if we don't change the people within the system, then the system remains the same when it comes to the functioning of the system. And so, it's the system, it's the political system. When you see people, and I got to give it out to Abraham Delon, because people have, just in a relatively short time, people have started putting forth his name as a potential vice presidential candidate, or some have even gone to the extent of saying our president come 2023. That's the system. We create our heroes overnight, and there's some things that attract our people. We like people who appears to be for the people. We like people who appears to be speaking the people's language. But we have to start looking at not only what people say, but their actions. Does their actions align with what they say? And that's how we determine which side of history they will fall on. And so the system is terrible. The system is terrible. It's not that we don't have good leaders. It's not that we don't have men and women of integrity. It's not that we can't transform our country. We can. The question is, are we recruiting? Are we giving the right people the opportunity to get the job done? And if you look way back at our history, I think we can all agree that that answer that question to say, no, we are not. We are not giving the right people the opportunity to do the right things.
And Robert, hold on there quickly. This is the reason I asked the question. And somebody who following very attentively might think that, oh, these guys are going off track. No. If you look at our topic, we also want to identify whether or not the president is being insensitive with all these projects. And that's why I asked the question, because politicians are smart. They know the people they are dealing with. And so to say that President Weah is insensitive because he's building all these projects, somebody might think that he's insensitive. But maybe he's understanding that if the people see me with these properties, they would think that by me being in power, they too one day will be like me. That's why Edwin Snow did. That boy built a mansion. He left Morovia and went to Margibi. He got elected. Why you think people elected him? They say because he's qualified, because they saw the man's house. They say if that man can transform his own life, that means he has the ability to transform our life.
No, Anthony.
Well, when we spoke,
ask the question.
Well, but when we speak about that, it goes back not just to people like Edwin Snow, right?
Right.
When you bring to question corruption and people within the opposition, this is what really frustrates me about the opposition and what direction we are going into. Mm-hmm. It frustrates me and it saddens me that the same people who are questioning corruption now had the opportunity to make a difference 12 years ago and failed to do so.
Right.
The same people who are questioning corruption now themselves have some tainted records when it comes to corruption. I'll put a name out there. Look at people like Benani Uri. You can't honestly tell me that Benani Uri acquired his worth, just without any question of corruption. But when people raise these questions, Liberians have always said, and it's very interesting. The same people who are questioning corruption under George Weah, the same people who question corruption under Ellen Jones and Salif, don't somehow have not found the courage to question corruption of those that they are close to, those that they consider as my political father, my political God. Just because they see those people as the political father, the political God, somehow means the criticisms they're not supposed to be part of the criticism. But
Yeah, they're
whenever
trying
we
to
bring
lie.
up, whenever we bring these things up, people will say, well, at least Ben Ayuri, if you said the man stole, but at least he built businesses that hire Liberians. At least his mansion was built in Liberia. At least he didn't steal the money and went outside like some Liberians have done to invest the money outside the country. But what does that have to do with the fact that corruption occurred? Whether or not corruption happened and millions of dollars were stolen and it was invested in Liberia, the one that benefits the family of that person and that person personally, has nothing to do with the fact that public funds were used for personal benefits. And so again, we have a long way to go. We have a lot of work to do when it comes to educating our people on electing the right leaders and holding our representative accountable.
Thank you.
Because our representative now have the
Mhm.
power to, for instance, someone, a guy like Smith Tooby,
Mhm.
to come to the to whatever committee is responsible to
Mhm.
give clarity under oath
Mhm.
on questions about these mansions. Are they going to do it?
Robert, yeah, you know the answer. They're not going to do it. These people could not call Mamba Molu on the liquor talk thing. But let me come to Ben. Ben, same thing. The people. We can say, President, we might be insensitive. We must say others are being insensitive for building projects and following the bad example of President Weah with buckets. Everybody follow with picture on it, with projects, and But the thing is that others have done it in the past, and it paid political dividend to them, and we gave you names. So maybe Weah is not being insensitive. That's how the people understand that this man means well for the country, because there are sedition that say at least the man is building their homes here. At least Smith, what's his name? Every Snow built a house here. Other than those of you who taking the money from here and taking it to America. So is he being insensitive or not?
I would say to a large extent, yes, because all of the ills that you just mentioned, we knew them. And we promised the Liberian people change. We promised them a break from the past. Right. And I'll tell you this, you kind of introduced me and talk about how close I was in the CDC. I want to say this. We signed up with the express intent of transforming our country. We signed up with the express intent of disassociating ourselves from the past. I mean, my friend on the other end, said all the good things that we have to educate voters. All of that comes with leadership. That's what we sign up for, transformation, for change. We did not sign up for personal gain. We did not sign up for that. We did not. So what is happening right now, like I said, it could be his personal money. It could be his own money. But the optics of what is happening now, it is very ugly. We are going through this very serious pandemic. People are under lockdown. People are crying for food. People are crying for water. People are crying for light. And we are under all of that in the atmosphere. We are erecting palaces. The optics are bad. But just like my friend said on the other side, and I will continue to say, the bottom line here is educating the voters. I will tell you this, I'm going to Liberia next year. Every village and town in the entire Liberia I will go through. And I will not tell a single person to vote
All
for me.
participants are muted and they can unmute themselves.
I will just tell that person, look at your life and make the best decision for you. Because you see, everybody deserves a shot. Everybody. We promise change. And it's almost like we give retrogression. That shouldn't be the case. This is one of the greatest group of Liberians we have now. All of us, opposition, government, we have to pull our resources, our effort, our talents, and move Liberia forward. Look all around the world. I've worked with very smart Liberians. Like I said, just a short while ago. Look at the number of smart Liberians we have all over the world. Then look at the country Liberia. There's something wrong. So collectively, we all have to come as a group and endeavor to work with integrity and transform that country. One of the major things, like I said, we will educate our folks in terms of how to vote, and we will also encourage them to hold their elected representatives accountable. After that is done, then we start erecting institutions. We want institutions that are more powerful than individuals. We were all here.
Excuse
the
me,
FBI
Ben, we have callers.
We're all here. The FBI investigated Trump. The same thing, we want our institutions to be more powerful than individuals so that people can be held accountable. Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, we got some callers on the line. Quickly, we'll bring in a caller here. Folks in cyberspace, you are indeed watching Focus on Liberia on our program, The Hour of Politics, and we are discussing the Weah's projects and mansion. Is the president being insensitive or the projects are justified? And in studio as guests, Benjamin Kofa Fanel and Robert Gagwa. Let's go to this couple of quickly. Mr. Double.
Yes, sir. Mr.
Quickly
Spear,
today.
good evening and good evening to your
Yep, go ahead.
and good evening to your guests.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, even when it comes to this George Weah's project, you and I, everyone know that George Weah is just insensitive to the plight of the Liberian people. And these things are only being done because I guess the people really don't know the way forward. And most of the people we elect into power could not with the president, not just George Weah alone. That's why we see things like this going on. Similar thing happened to Madame Salif. Raul said he took over the car and when the locals went helter-skelter and there was no accountability. George Weah came and took over and now he's doing his. But for him, he was, I mean, I don't understand the George Weah syndrome. See, common sense will teach anybody, just common sense will tell you that you don't have to be educated with what George Weah is doing. What George Weah is doing requires nothing like education. He's just been very, very insensitive. I don't know how to describe it, you know, because of the platform right now, we all there are words that we cannot be allowed to use on it. But I think that's another complete nonsense is going on. And I can tell you, no matter how long it takes, we will get to dig beyond those buildings that George Weah is building, and we will get to final saying behind it. No matter how long it takes, we want to dig behind them, and we'll get to know where the money is coming from. I can tell you that for sure. Sometimes I hear people say, go ahead.
Let me ask you the question. You know, you're trying to raise people hope here. Didn't we say this about Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, that Ellen was not going to go unpunished? Some of our friends in the CDC said that Ellen was going to be prosecuted. Where is Ellen? She's a free woman. What's the guarantee that we are going to be prosecuted? How many Liberians have been persecuted for corruption in our lifetime that we know of?
Ellen herself is not even off the hook. Ellen is going to be covered up by George Weah. So when George Weah is being sorted out, Ellen is going to come in. See, I can tell you that it will happen. You are seeing the confusion now. You know what things are about to happen to people.
Anthony,
you can see the confusion now that happening to George Weah's house.
All right, Ben, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Yes, I want to say something to your guest.
Yeah, go on.
I welcome your call. I want to give you this. I guarantee you, I guarantee your guest, I guarantee the one who's on the line right now.
Okay.
When I win the election, we will audit George Weah to the fullest extent of the law. Similarly, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf will be audited to the fullest extent of the law. We are not going to shoot anybody. We will hold them counted, and we will hold them accountable in terms of the law. We will audit them. Take it from me. I guarantee you that.
But Ben, where are you getting this so much courage and hope? I mean, are you working with Bill Gates? Do you have money to win election in Liberia, Ben?
My good brother, I will tell you this. Let me declare
I don't
on
want to
your
change
show.
topic, man, Ben, but you're pumping me up here.
I want to say this, sir. 2023, I, Benjamin Kofa, will be the president of Liberia.
But Ben, here's the thing though. We are as a crew, man, and this is realistic politics in Liberia, and sometimes we want to shy away from it. Crewman is subjecting our people to hardship because of his terrible leadership, and then you think that people want another crewman?
My brother, I'm not a crewman.
I'm a Liberian. The same thing. You just forget.
I'm a Liberian.
I was
not a crewman.
The same thing. You just
I'm not a,
Hold on,
brother,
Kezo. Let me answer the question. Hold on, Kezo.
I'm not a crewman. I am a Liberian.
Okay.
I'm not a crewman.
All right.
I don't see myself based on tribal lines.
Right.
I am a Liberian. That's who I am.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, Chris, Kezo, I'll conclude so we can bring in another caller.
Yeah, and I keep hearing people saying this thing that because of what Georgia did for people on the displaced camp when during the Civil War, you know, he did this, he did that for people. There was one of the reasons why he was elected. See, I've heard people say this thing over and over, but I've not seen one person who can tell me, guarantee me that they benefited from Georgia or goodwill when he was going on the displaced camp. One person. I heard so many Liberians saying it. I have asked questions over and over, just one person to come and tell me I was there and I benefited. I have not seen one. So I want you to please put that question on your show. There's one person just come and say, I benefited from Georgia on the displaced camp. Nothing. Every morning, Nico was down just to come we are on the national thing. He was reimbursed. Lone Star did not owe Georgia $5. In fact, Georgia even benefited from us. Georgia had their dollar contract. That contract was in Georgia's pocket. The national team did not benefit.
All right,
those are some of the reasons why he and some of his sons on the national team have quarrel every time.
Thank you, Kasali. Thank you. Thank you, Kasali.
Thank you, my brother.
Yeah, let's take this one here. The man, Jimmy Ishman. Mr. Ishman, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hey, Mr. C, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Yourself and family?
Okay, very good. And I appreciate your guests. As for Mr. Gagwa, I admire how eloquent he is. We have had exchanges before. And Mr. Finn, first time, but I admire your courage. However, Anthony, I think you were hitting the hammer on the nail. You see, you talk about how do people interpret the president's actions. That is very important because, you know, if we look at a cross-section of Liberia, okay, all of you over here are considered the intellectual elite. The general population of Liberia doesn't have the level of education none of you have on over there. But there is something common between the educated man and uneducated man, and that is beliefs. They both live by beliefs. And beliefs can be manipulated. Let me tell you about some people, they claim they're Christian, but they sleep with a talisman. You know what I mean? So that's because someone professes and says one thing does not mean that's what he believes in. But belief is what we live by. Now, Mr. Finn is an aspirant, and I think it's bold. But will you be able to make you believe that you will be that person? Because when you get on the ground, you will see that there's a different mentality at the average level. For you to propagate that, the reason why our president became so popular, because everybody believed he was a star and he had clout and he could do things. Now, you will have to change the beliefs of people before they will believe in you that you can do it.
Mr. Guest, let me stop you there for a second.
You know?
Hold on, line.
Let me stop you for a second.
No, line, Ben.
So,
Mr. Eastman? Mr. Eastman.
When we look at these actions, believe you, these are political strategies, just like you said, Anthony. A lot of these things can be interpreted as good things because of the people believe it is. They will not go to the level of analysis that you people in the intelligentsia are making. They will make their common knowledge assessment and analysis, which is based on their beliefs.
All right.
It has nothing to do with logic.
All right, Mr. Eastman, be on the phone line. Let Ben respond to it. He got something he want to throw in there. Ben, quickly, before we let Eastman go.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say something. Well, thank you for your call. We do appreciate all the interaction that we're having here. But I want to say this. Do you know why there are some Liberians on Facebook that have maybe 500 guests on their show, 800 guests on their show? Have you ever asked yourself why? And sometimes when you tune into the shows, there is nothing that you can learn. There's nothing, literally nothing. I'll tell you why. There is a vacuum. There's an absence of leadership. Liberians are yearning for leaders. The country is yearning for leaders. Look at some of the shows and look at the size of their audience. You ask yourself why. So most of us, we have sat on the sidelines for too long. It is time to get in and make a difference. And that's what I'm going to do.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Eastman, conclude so we can bring in our other caller, and then Rabba will respond to that caller.
Right. So let me just conclude. So yeah, the idea that people will tune to a certain channel and have thousands of supporters because they like what they hear. It has nothing to do with sometimes leadership. If you're talking to somebody and you are saying the things they want to hear, they will tune to you. Okay? But go on the ground and convert that into votes is a whole different thing. They have to believe that you will bring some benefit to them personally. They do not intellectualize. They are looking for a personal gain from you, at least very indirectly, like maybe at a community level. And if you can't convince them that you can change their livelihood, they're not going to vote for you. And that's how it is played.
Well said. Well said, Mr. Eastman, and thank you. I appreciate you making. And Ben, you will have interest. I'm not saying you should comment now. You will have presidential interest. You have to think about it seriously, Ben. This is a fact. This is the reason why politicians who are acting as humanitarians continue to win election. They don't get the message. What they get, what I will be for a week, is on that basis. Because you know the people conclusion, when these people get elected, they will not have time for me. So it is what I get now will be for me for the next 6 years. So if I don't get anything, I'm not going to vote for you. And that's how it has been over and over again. So Ben, I want you to win, but I don't see how you put that up. Let me bring this caller in, then Rabba will respond. Caller phone number ending in 2004. Quickly to the issue.
Yeah, hello. My name is Sonny.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm calling from Philadelphia.
Yeah, quickly.
I've been following your show for a long time. I want to congratulate
I appreciate that.
Sonny Spirit. Your platform is very respectful, very professional, and every time I work deep out, I watch you every day. So I tell you, I thank you for you. And I want to talk to Mr. Ben Brown. I just come on the line. Mr. Ben said he was with the CDC. So I want to know why he left the CDC. What will make him different if he become a president? I've been in America for 20 years. And I know everything about the war from 1989 all the way to April 6th. The only war I wasn't in was in 2003 when Chapter left. So I'm a victim for the war. And I want Liberia to be like normal day, because that's what I experienced. I experienced from Dole, Chapter, Amos Sawyer, all of them. And now we put George upon. One thing I never voted that I was in America, but my children, my son is 18, I got 4 years, so I want my children to go back to Liberia. Because one, Brother Robert said something. We don't have system in Liberia. I went to school here. Liberia don't have no system. We don't have no system. I was suffering our country right now in Liberia. And when Mr. Ben go back to become a president, what would make him different from George Manning Weah? But Weah was the people's choice. Ellie was not. She did her thing, but she was not. So he's saying he wants to be our president. What will he do different from Opon? Because we don't have no politicians right now in Liberia. We have people who want money in their pocket, and we have people who want to feed their family, and who don't want to do it. Our Henry Costa can come and just take six, let's say, passe, and they're lie to the Liberian people because why? He educated in America, then he goes to and drink Kool-Aid juice on his platform. I watch him too. But I want to say, Mr. Ben, you're talking some good things. But the two brothers said on here, you need to go on ground and show what would be the difference from you and Opon and all these people that are running for election. Because if you don't do it, the old lady who gets $10 a year, $2 a year, $1 a year in your hand, she's going to vote for Opon. She'll vote for Bwaka. She'll vote for all the people that are on ground. You cannot sit down in America with Kosu, I'm not abusing you, and say Labombo vote. Labombo wants to see who there. The reason why Opon win, and I'm going to end it, is because Opon been there from 1989. He been playing soccer, he been on the ground, and he been going back. So you don't go back and sit down here, the people that you have money for nothing and vote for the people who there. So thank you, Mr. Son is here. God bless you and continue to do it because you're very professional. We can go out to Liberia and open your own broadcast. We need people like you. God, even our generally they're not educated too. What did they put in? Henry Costa more, they put in more, everybody called in and they can't interview. We need people like him, Brother Robert. But you bringing some. I was watching the other day, you're talking some good thing about Liberia. So
thank you, brother.
To build Liberia.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Thank you, brother, for the compliment. But don't forget to criticize me too. I want to be criticized. I know I'm learning. I just started this like 2 months. I mean, no, not 2 months, 5 months ago. Dennis Jazz, the one who got me in this trouble. But Ben, hold that question. And Robert, you hold too. I got this caller here quickly. Hey, Ben, welcome to Focus on Liberia. Long time. Hope the family doing good. Let's talk some politics.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well, bro.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear, quickly.
Okay, good. So let me first of all say kudos to my friend Robert Gagwa. We haven't talked in a long time, Sam, so we definitely have to. I know I owe you a call. And let me congratulate Mr. Fania, Ben Fania, on his purported his bid to run for the presidency. I think it's audacious and it's ambitious, but that's what we need. We need a competition of ideas. We need new excitement. We need new dynamism, and if adding more flavor to the competition and to the conversation, it can only benefit our people. The only thing I would say, Mr. Fania owes me, because he's going to have to ask me for my support, because I know he was one of the people who were very, very fierce against me when I ran for the Senate against then Ambassador Weah. And he knows exactly what I'm talking about. So, but it's all in good sport. It's all in good sport. I've been listening to the conversation, and it's refreshing. Everybody knows that I have some level of knowledge within the Liberian political space. Robert Gagwa was a strong supporter of mine. Robert, I owe a lot of gratitude to you when I put my hat out there. But the reason I called was because I just wanted to say something. And I wanted to just lay some expectations, because I've been listening to some of the calls. I know sometimes it's easy for us to paint a brush and to tend to look for perfection. We're never going to find perfection. Yeah. There are going to be buts. And this is by no stretch of the imagination me saying that we should lower our expectations. We should always strive for greatness, but we should understand that at the end of the day, that we all have a responsibility to our country. It is no secret that I supported Mr. Weah in the second round. It is also no secret that I pulled my support from him about a year ago. And the benefit of the doubt for me, I think even when we went to make the endorsement of Mr. Weah, I was very clear in my speech to then Senator Weah that what my expectations were and how I was not going to be one of the regular praise singers or the regular ones who would just go along the way. Now, could I have stayed on board and sing Kumbaya and continue to look at things from the one, from a one-sided? I could have, but I felt within my conscience that I had to, do what I did. At the end of the day, Mr. Weah is president of Liberia. I continue to say that he's president for the next, 4 years. And within those 4 years, it is our responsibility as citizens to continue to hold his feet to the fire. While holding his feet to the fire, we have expectations also, talking about the project. And I understand, I know I don't want to take up a lot of time because I know there are other people calling. But talking about the project, one of my disappointments with what's going on in Liberia is it's almost like, I feel the Liberian people have been swindled. When you have someone like George Weah, and Ben Fayem maybe could bear me witness, because there was something about George Weah that made a lot of people believe that he was going to be this amazing and magnificent president, because he was one of them. He understood their story. They saw themselves in him. They understood that, if anybody will understand what we go through, he will understand what we go through. And the reason I say I'm disappointed is because I think I posted something today on my Facebook page, and I said the quote from Michelle Obama, that the presidency doesn't change you. It only reveals who you are. I think this, in all actuality, I think this maybe was Mr. Weah's plan all along. Maybe that was his plan. His plan was to come, to become president, to build mansions, to do the things that he's doing, and then ultimately maybe just to become president, to say, I am president. But you know what? He has a couple of years to go to either turn the story around, or he too will be remembered unkindly in the pages of history. Now, I know, Mr. C.A., we've seen this movie before. We've seen this exact movie play before with other Liberian presidents, where they come and they explain the presidency is an institution the country lives on. But for me, I would say, that's why I'm so grateful. I know you've been trying to get me to come on. There's just been a lot of scheduling, I'm in school. There's just so many things been going on. But I would say this to you, and I would say this to both Ben and to Robert. Continue to do what you do, because unlike what other people may say, every drop in the bucket helps to fill up the bucket. We all love our country. We want to see our country do well, but we have to remain focused, and we have to continue and be cognizant of the fact that our loyalty should be to Liberia. And that's why when people say to me, people have legitimate reasons why they question whether, Ben, why are you speaking now? It's because at the end of the day, as leaders, we have to own up and we have to take responsibility. We accept the faults, and we move on with the progress. So I just want to thank all of you. Robert, I will reach out, Mr. Fayem. I'm waiting for your call because you don't want to get in trouble with me. Now you're in the same hot seat that you're running for something now. But good luck with everything you do, and it's a good show, and I'm enjoying it. Thank you. And Mr. C, we'll talk sometimes early. We'll talk sometimes before the weekend to plan something. Okay.
All right, Ben. Thank you for phoning in and for the solid contribution. Ben, gentlemen, hey man, I'm enjoying the conversation, but we have hit the time, and so we're going to wrap it up quickly. But Ben, I'll give you the opportunity to respond to the question the young man asked. Why should
I was supposed to go?
Oh yeah, Robert. Okay, yeah, Robert. Thank you for making that clear. You go first, Robert. Yeah, you've been waiting for so long.
I think that first of all, I just want to make clear, because when Ben Sanvi was had his I think he's done a couple of life where he pretty much stated his reason for it with drawing his support.
Right.
I've had private conversations private questions and public questions, mostly private. Folks have called my phone and said, "Hey, yeah, here's your man over there. I mean, that's your friend." And I just want to state publicly that I do not regret my support for Ben Stanvey when he contested a few years ago. He's a friend. I think that he 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 brings something to the table still. And again, we make decisions, and all of us must be held accountable for our decisions. And sometimes it's easy to make decisions like what he did. It's easy to endorse someone at that moment, and even more difficult to say, you know what? I think I don't see what I saw. What motivated me to make this endorsement, I don't see. And people begin to question you, and that's normal in our politics. But I still see him as a friend and a good man in our society. And I think he made a lot of good point. I think, and I said this yesterday. The question is, when it comes to corruption, I would not, and I think people have said, Robert, you were closer, sedition, you were this, and I've made very, very clear explicitly that I've never voted for any politician. I've never been a part of any political party. I've never had a political god. I have supported individuals that I believe in personally, and I will continue to do so. But there's something wrong with our system. We have a systemic problem. And I think Ben mentioned the presidency being an institution. And the question that I asked a friend yesterday is the presidency corrupt? Because we have seen over and over and again, Charles Tito was mad corrupt. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, the record is there. George Weah is exhibiting things that brings the question corruption as well. And so, how do we change the presidency as an institution so that it is not as corrupt as it has been in the past? I think that's something for future discussion and things that we have to discuss in the future. But I think he raised a good point, and we have a long way to go. Hopefully, I'm very, very hopeful that that Liberia in my generation will get to the point where our institution works independently. Uh, Institutions like our legislature, judiciary branch of government, work independent per describing our constitution, and the expectation of folks that we do elect works with that system as well. Thank you.
Ben, a young man asked you a question, wondering whether he should trust you. Quickly.
Well, was that what he said? Whether he should trust me?
Yeah, he said you were part of the CDC. You campaigned for President Weah. And now President Weah is proving beyond all reasonable doubt that he's not a guy maybe all of you thought he was. And so why should he trust you now with the presidency now that you're running and you will not enter the George Weah?
Okay, what I would tell him is first, thank you for his input. We welcome everyone in this dialogue as we go along. But I will just give him a case study. I will ask that young man to please, I know if he's listening.
Yeah, he is.
To search the internet or just search on his phone for Angola. As we speak right now on this show, the president of Angola was the third man in the past leadership. The guy who's leading now, he was third, in command in the past leadership. But I can tell you this, he is prosecuting his boss and his allies to the fullest extent of the law. You see, what we are doing, my brother, we do not intend to kill anybody. We do not intend to beat anybody. All we would do is enforce the laws according to the letter. Let me tell him more key things. A lot of people say, oh, Liberia is this, Liberia is that. I will tell you this, we got all the laws on the books.
Ben, are you with us?
I think his internet is first.
Yeah.
But let me expand on that question.
Yeah.
Because I was going to ask my own.
Oh, he's back. He's back.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, the major thing in Liberia is the lack of will to enforce the rules, the lack of will. And I will tell you this, you can take this to the bank.
And are you saying that President Weah doesn't have that will?
Weah doesn't have the will, neither the capacity to do it. I will enforce the rules to the letter, I'm telling you. Total accountability. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You see, laws are only laws if they are enforced. That's what we call laws. They can only be called laws if they are enforced. Let me just give you one last thing before I leave.
Okay.
This month, this day, makes it 1 year, 1 full year since he received the audit report from the GSC. George Weah received an audit report May of last year from the GSC. Last year, May to this year is 1 year. Weah and his team mopped up 24 million bucks. No hit, no take.
25.
He received that audit report from 1 year to today. No action. That's a lack of will. I will receive that audit report today. It will be executed before the end of the day. Trust me.
All right.
Thank you.
We'll be here and focus on Liberia when that time comes. We wish you well.
Yeah,
Folks,
but Senator, let me push back a little bit though. Before
Yeah.
I think I'll be remiss if I didn't. Before we have our closing statements,
right.
because one of the issues that I had, and one of the reasons why I've refused to be a part of the political system in Liberia, is because we lack the true political institutions, right? In Liberia, in the United States, I'll be very brief. We understand the difference between the GOP and the Democratic Party, right? There are fundamental difference when it comes to ideologies, policies, and so forth and so on. Very fundamental. You can't miss it when it comes to social programs, when it comes to foreign policy, when it comes to
Education.
a whole range of things. They are so much separated. But I don't understand ideology-wise the difference between CDC as opposed to a Liberty Party, CDC as opposed to All Liberian Party, and so forth and so on. People become members of these parties based on personal relationships. And so if George Weah is the candidate, or if Alice Cummings is these candidates for ANC, and I have a personal relationship with Alice Cummings, then I become a member of ANC. All right, as you can see right now, you still have, since Cummings went to Liberia, he became an official member of ANC. You still have Cummings for Liberia Group. You still have ANC Global. You still have all of these separate groups. And we are confused as to which one aligns with ANC ideology. And so my question to Ben is, you were a member of CDC. If for any reason you think that George Weah has not delivered per your expectations, why won't you contest or challenge George Weah at the next CDC convention to become the standard bearer of your party? Why is there a need, when you're speaking of change, why is there a need to branch out and run as an independent candidate, which is all your choice? You have the constitutional right to do so. But don't you think you will be setting an example when it comes to building true institutions in Liberia and the operation of those institutions, to say, you know what, I am a bona fide member of CDC, and so I have the right to go to the convention and challenge the president, who I don't believe has delivered as per our mandate as a party and as a political institution? Why are you branching out? Only because you don't like what this person is doing. Can you explain that?
Roberts, gentlemen, we have to leave it there. You are introducing a whole new topic. And let us close with this. I would demand closing statement. We can't go more than 2 hours, gentlemen.
Yeah, okay, Anthony.
You guys know we are here for you, and anytime.
Think about that. That's fine. No, that's fine. Just think about it, Ben.
Yeah,
think about it.
But Ben, think about it, and let us close like this, gentlemen.
No, I'll close our closing statement.
Yeah. Let me get your closing statement, and this
No,
is what I
start with
want
Ben.
to close with.
Start with Ben.
And let's start with Ben. Ben,
Yes.
you know, we continue to say there are not institutions in Liberia. We continue to say there are not institutions. I disagree. There are institutions. We have the GSC, we have the LACC, we have the Election Commission, we have the Judicial Branch. We got institutions. We got the Supreme Courts, we got Temple of, we have the Ministry. We got institutions. What I think we don't have men and women of integrity. Weah does not have the power to fire any senator, but a senator will cower into Weah because of brown envelope and will vote for something knowing that it will not go anywhere. Today, we have a stimulus package that they ratify or they approve. One person is yet to get a grain of rest when they are forcing these people to stay home. So it's not that we don't have institutions. We do. We don't have men and women in those institutions. So you guys need to cut this off that we don't have institutions. So close with this. Do we still need institutions, or do we need men and women of integrity who understands those institutions and their statutory responsibility thereof and prepare to execute them to the letter? That's why I want you to close on. You go first, Ben.
Okay, I will put everything into perspective here.
Yeah.
You are 100% right. And that's why I keep telling people I have only one agenda item, that is accountability. You are 100% right. We have institutions, but the lack of accountability, the lack of enforcement, or based on what you said, there is a pervasive lack of integrity. Look, you know what you said, it hit my heart so hard. A bill was passed. Our legislators got $6,500 instantly. They got it. I mean, just like you go to the ATM machine, they got it instantly. Our folks are out there for almost 2-3 weeks. Nothing. There's no hope in sight in terms of when this relief aid is going to reach them. But the lawmakers got $6,500. Now let's leave that. Mr. Gadwa, let me agree with you. Politics in Liberia does not have ideology. Similarly, politics in America doesn't have ideology. Let me tell you why. I study politics. I study it. If you look at who call themselves now Democrats, they were once called Republicans. Republicans, as you know now, they were once called Democrats. Republicans were the one who voted for blacks to be free. Democrats were the one who were, back then they were the bad people, racist. So it's not about ideology. It's all about the tone, the pervasive environment.
Oh, new topic. You'll keep that for the election, guys.
In Liberia, there's no ideology there. But I want to say, sir, I want to thank everybody. I thank the callers. I want to thank my host. I want to thank Mr. Gadwa. Thank you for this show. It was very informative. It was very entertaining. And I look forward to be back sometime. Thank you, guys. This was a great opportunity. Thanks. Thanks a lot.
And Ben, as always, you can place a phone call and we can schedule something, because we need to have this conversation. But we all can't stay in this America. We'll not stay across the Atlantic Ocean and think that with our mouth on social media to change anything. That's why we want to commend you for your boldness in declaring your interest or expressing interest to go and contest. Like Ben said, you know, I'm talking about Ben Savvy, it is a welcoming idea. We need competition of ideas. The guns are no more. We don't need them, all right? So Roberts, same thing.
Yeah, I mean, thank you. First of all, you know, you guys are family to me, and I remain a very constant, frequent guest on your show. And so I appreciate the invitation. I'm currently furloughed, so I'm not working.
Yeah.
Keeping myself busy with different things, of course. But whenever I can, I know once the country opens back up, my schedule is going to be very, very crazy. But thank you for the invitation. I will always be a part of great discussions such as these. But a few things I want to close on. As Sandy, you said we do have institutions, but we don't have men and women of integrity. I think what make an institution and one that is actually functioning is not just the building and the name of those institutions. I think is the totality of what is required, right? If you have a big house just standing by itself, it doesn't make a home if there's no one in it. And what's supposed to be what formulates a home is not part of that. And so again, I do think that we are lacking true institutions. I mentioned earlier, I think the system needs to be fixed. That's one thing. We have a systemic issue, but we also need to ensure that there are men and women of integrity who will uphold those systems and make sure that they are functioning. Another thing I want to touch on is I believe when it comes to the Weah project, I believe that those responsible for information dissemination in Liberia, and a lot of these guys are friends of mine. They understand exactly where I stand. I think the president needs to, they have to come clear to educate the Liberian public on the difference between the Weah project as opposed to government project. I think that has to be made clear. And I also said, like I said earlier, that clarification needs to be made on the source of funding. I will close with this. We need to put more emphasis on how we hold our representative accountable, because our representative are direct representation of the people. They are the most important people, I presume, in a democracy such as a circular as ours, so pluralistic and circular as ours. They are the most important representation, direct representation of the people. And if we continue to elect folks that are not in the true interest of the people, then what you allow is you allow certain things from the executive that what's going on right now to continue to happen. I said from the beginning of the show, there are things that our lawmakers can do right now to bring clarity to this stuff that they are not doing. So in as much as we want to hold our president accountable, I think we have to also focus on how do we hold our representative accountable. Since this whole thing about this man, this Nigerian dude, I don't know how to say his name, so I'm not going to try. We know that he is no longer going to be at the National Election Commission, right? But the question I want to leave for this show is this, and people to think about is this, is his naturalization paper, which disqualifies him from becoming commissioner of the Election Commission. Is it only good for that position? If he's not a Liberian citizen constitutionally, what are they going to do about the fact that he continues to be at the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission? What are they going to do? What have they done? So again, we can hold the executive accountable, but if all of these branches of government are functioning, which goes back to my point of the lack of true institution, it makes it even easier for not just the country, but for the general public. So again, thank you for the show, and I look forward to more substantive dialogue such as this. Thank you, Ben. Good luck.
About very good closing point there about Wamodiki. His name is Austin Dubusi Wamodiki.
Wamodiki.
This man was denied the post of chairman at the Election Commission because of citizenship. But our lawmaker, for some reason, believe that though his citizenship is questionable to be National Election Commission, his citizenship is okay to be boss for Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission.
Exactly.
Institution that should be fighting corruption. The institution that should be holding people accountable. Accountability that Benjamin Kofa-Fannia is running on. And you have that guy there, I think he will be fired on day one if Ben becomes president. But on that note, folks in cyberspace, my name is Anthony C. I have been your host with these two outstanding panelists, Benjamin Kofa-Fannia and Robert Gakwa. This is how we do it here at Focus on Liberia. We educate, we elevate, we promote all things Liberia. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, also our Facebook. We apologize for the technical difficulty we have earlier going live on Facebook. Our technicians are at work. We are very confident this time it will be resolved and you will see us live on Facebook. On that note, I can't thank you enough, Robert and Ben. Folks in cyberspace as well, I can't thank you enough. This is how we conclude the show at this hour. Stay safe. Corona is still out there. Protect your family and your loved one so that we all can stick around to make Liberia better tomorrow because people!